Hey everyone, welcome to episode 64 of the Bonehead Podcast, where we talk all things Blood Bowl. Welcome back, I'm Ben, and once again I'm joined by Blood Tithe Ben.
Hello.
How you doing, BT?
I'm doing very, very good. How you doing?
I'm alright, man. How's the real world?
Yeah, no, it's okay. It's okay. I got a brand new desk last week. One of my mates, his office is moving. They're clearing them all out, and he was like, "Does anyone want a free desk?" Like, yes, right in there. It's great. I've got I used to have quite a small IKEA one, and it would once my monitors were on there, and I have like a work laptop. There was like no room whatsoever, and like the keyboard was hanging off the edge. But this is like 1.5 times the size, and now I can have I've got like a dedicated hobby space like right next to it now, so I can just sort of slide to the left, and I'm hobby mode. Yeah, I love it. It's a game changer.
The IKEA one, was it like 4 foot by 2 foot?
Yeah, probably was about that.
I think that's literally what I'm running here.
Has it got like the screw-on legs?
It's IKEA. They've all got screw-on legs. They're all held together by wishes. This one I've got here was one of the most weird and complicated pieces of IKEA furniture imaginable. Like the legs, there's like a side panel that goes on at the same time to each of the legs. It was very overcomplicated. There's like a bolt that goes in at a 45-degree angle. It was really aggravating when I had to take it down and put it back together again when we moved house.
Yeah,
I was like, the hell is... I just nearly just bought another one and left it there.
But no, this one I had, it was basically just a plank of wood where you screw some legs in, they just hold in.
Oh, that's the dream. That's the best kind. Groovy. Okay, so we're both good. We're both alive. Ben, what are we chatting about today on episode 64?
Today we're going to be talking about Deathzone Speculation. So what we think is going to be coming up in the Death Zone. Talk about franchise leagues and the usual games, hobby, and star players.
Absolutely. So Games Workshop has spoiled their next release, which is going to be the Death Zone. And in their article, they talked about a few things that are going to be in there. So we're going to have a chat about those things, what they look like, and what the potential impact could be. And then I got myself involved in a thing on Fumble that I think is very cool. And Ben and I have talked about themed leagues before, so I thought we'd talk about franchise leagues, which revolve around having specific teams and the coaches change who run those teams. So instead of we're going to build a Lustrian team, it's I'm going to pick up this team, and it ties in really well with something like Dungeon Bowl, where they've got franchise teams and the coaches change. And yeah, I've got myself in a very interesting position where I'm now the Yuan Jin head coach, and it's just really cool. So I thought we could talk about it because there's definitely an unexplored element of Blood Bowl there, for me anyway. So yeah, thought it'd be cool. Right then, onwards to news. Okay, so it's Blood Bowl news. But we do actually have a couple of things to talk about. But the first one, we thought we'd check in on the Princesses Got Angry Kickstarter that we had a look at last week. This one features some Disney-style princesses, and it has destroyed its goal. And this is why I thought we'd talk about it again, because this one's come in with an £85 goal and is now 264 backers deep at £7,500. I mean, that's insane. That's insane.
That's really good for one of these sort of quite niche miniature releases.
Seriously niche. It's nearly 100 times defeated its goal. However, the goal was really, 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 really low. Shockingly low. But is it just STLs? I can't remember. We actually looked at this.
I think it was just STLs, yeah, which is really interesting for it to smash this. Or just files, because yeah, it's this shows that people out there, are either having their own printers or being able to get them way more easily, you know.
So there's a fantasy football dwarf team that we did have a look at last episode, which is quite interesting. It's definitely stylized, I think is what we would normally say. I'm not a massive fan, but the quality, the sculpting it's been well executed. But £11 for a dwarf team with the complete resin stuff, that's basically what you'd pay for a couple of miniatures on Mini Factory. So
yeah, definitely.
Or that's a Patreon for 1 month,
Yeah,
and that's, there's another one going on at the moment, which is a 10mm lizard thing for War Master, and hidden in there is a Lizard Man team. It's finished funding now. Otherwise, I didn't notice. Just didn't notice. It was like 20 quid for STLs for the team, which I thought was a bit much. But actually, that's fine, isn't it?
That's pretty. Yeah, I'd pay that. Like, you're mostly paying for the art anyway, right? So
Yeah.
if you're printing it for yourself as well, it's not going to cost you that. It doesn't cost that much to print.
No, it doesn't. Not at that point. That's about the same time as the
costs
Games
a lot of
Workshop
willpower.
Oh, doesn't it just?
The price is in the willpower.
Yeah, you and I were having a chat with Triplo today, weren't we? Because he's thinking about getting a resin printer, and
Be careful, friend.
Yeah, both of us, both you and I, are currently not using our printers because of repeated failed prints, and it's like,
it's lightning.
I'll do it tomorrow.
Like, when you first get one, you sort of print it. It's just like, whoa, I can do like a whole team for like 20p, and then you're like, oh no, wait, because each attempt is 20p, and it takes 10 attempts to get something you're happy with. It really does add up.
But this is the worst thing: is that still at £2, it's a bargain. It's just not quite the bargain you thought it was, versus the upfront cost. It's the cost of 4 full RRP third-party Blood Bowl teams. And there are definitely times where I'm just like, I really just wish I could pay someone £20 to make this model for me and send it to me.
It's often worth it. Yeah.
You get a failed print and you're looking at Forge World prices and you're like, that's fine. £40 for a Zote? Yeah, that's okay. That's okay.
Whatever.
Let's do this. Anyway,
Wish it came assembled, though.
Was that, sorry?
Wish it came assembled, though. That's the downside.
Well, that's the outrageously lush thing about the Grebo stuff, which we'll talk about in a second, because that does come assembled. Anyway, so yes, this 8 days to go. I just wanted to put a reminder out there because it will be closing Friday, March 26th. So if you want some crazy dwarves or some very crazy Disney princesses with chainsaws, go check it out. That does bring us on to the Grebo dwarves. So if you follow our YouTube, you may have seen we got a preview copy of the team that we got to do an unboxing for and a review, and I had a wonderful time making graphics and stuff, and the team is amazing. So this is up on Kickstarter now. They are the Thunder Cougar Falconbeards Dwarves for Fantasy Football, and it is by the mighty Grebo Games. They've already got nearly 600 backers and are at 56,000 of a goal of 2,500. So Grebo have set their goal here on this Kickstarter at 2,500. We've seen other Kickstarters that have a higher goal than that for companies that aren't Grebo, for models that are not this good. But Ben, what do you think of this team?
These are my favorite dwarf miniatures, hands down. Like, full stop dwarf miniatures for anything. I'm not just saying that. Like, I absolutely adore the style and just like the chunkiness. It's just so nice. And the way Grebo render their stuff, they're like, first of all, they have their like player splash screens they do, which are kind of like renders.
Yeah.
And then also have the photographs alongside it, which
look like renders.
Better than the renders.
Well, this is it. I've got this up on the screen right now. It's the picture of the death roller and the blocker and stuff, and it looks like a render, but it isn't. It is actually the stuff. And having seen the stuff in person, it is exactly this good, and it just comes ready to go. Like I took a heavy dry brush, this one here, my large dry brush, because there was a bit of dust, of like, you know, when you get a bit of liquid resin and it dries, it creates a little bit of dust if it's not cleaned 100%. There was a little bit of dust on it. Okay, that was it. And there was 2 tiny supports. Bear in mind, there's 17 miniatures and a death roller, which did come in multiple parts, and there was 2 supports to remove, and the rest of them just needed a bit of a dusting. You don't even need to clean them. That was it. Like, the team took 7 minutes to put together.
It's such a huge advantage. It's crazy. I'm trying to put together my Nurgle team, also from Grebo. Still great models, but
It's that
there's
metal.
a lot of work that goes into that. And you've got a gap fill. You've got to like some of the arms that are kind of like if you put them together, they don't stick properly. So you've got to kind of construct around it. It's a lot of work comparatively, and it doesn't look as good. So it's like, yeah.
Oh man, this team. So it is stylized very much like their Black Orcs. They've got a kind of I'm going to say it depending on how you feel about it. It might upset you, but it's a kind of a World of Warcraft feel.
Oh, entirely. Yeah, it's super like Dark Iron, the Dark Iron dwarves of World of Warcraft. Yeah.
These and the Black Orcs, just they are. Oops, I've screwed that up a little bit. They are stylistically cartoony a little tiny bit, but smacking them on the table next to other Blood Bowl miniatures, there's no problem at all. Like they scale well. The detail is phenomenal. I'm having a great time painting them. Like they're just lovely to paint. And I mean, I think you and I said it last episode, Ben. That this just seems to be like Dwarf Month, because we got this Kickstarter landing, and it's gonna be dispatched in June because they've already got the models, and we know that because we've already got the models. You know, they're all ready. They've hit all the stretch goals. They've designed all the stretch. Hey, we're on the Kickstarter. Nice. And it's just Anyway, we need to talk through price. So the price, which is the price? I think I've already. Yeah, here we go. So this is the one I have selected. But how do I select a different one? Can we see the price? No. All right, baffling. Anyway, I backed the first 24 hours. 3 hours to go. That's why the other one isn't there. And it came in at €79 or £68 for 2 runners, 2 blitzers, 2 slayers, an Odin, which is a massive death roller dude that I think best described as if Dr. Robotnik was a dwarf.
Yeah.
and had tiny legs with a roller thing. 1 Rumdo Silverspine and 10 blockers. Plus stretch goals, and there's a ton of stretch goals. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, it's just a billion players, like a billion players, and that massive big dude. And then you get the turn marker, the cheerleader, the fan with cup, the extra lineman. I don't know why you need an extra lineman. You've already got 10. Fan with a barrel, balls, a referee, thunder cougar, stunned prone markers, a dwarf coach. Now, I believe there's some add-ons that you can actually pay to get, and I think I'm going to have to up it. But yeah, that's because those stars are absolutely awesome. What have they got? They've got the apothecary. The mage is cool. The bribe is cool.
Is it Carla? Got like a knife.
Let's have a look. I'm going to start at the top. There's don't know what that means. What they're Aramor or Oramor Volcano, basically a Barrack Farblast guy. There's Brozar Nightfall, which is Skrull kicking the football. That is awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
Skull thing. Hurrick Hammerfist, which is your Grim Ironjaw. He looks beast. Demolition Garfen, who is, I don't know, he's just got 2 bombs and he's going crazy. There's Rumbo Silverspike, who's got a chain axe. That's just one of my favourite models ever. And interestingly, there's a Fanatic as well. And yeah, there's a Carla or Shyla Night Hunter. I don't know if that's a new one for the Kickstarter or whether that's just from their range, because the mountain is from the range. But anyway, you've got these extras, including the Odin arms. This is what I really love. There's alternate arms for the Death Roller.
Yeah.
Extra runners, nameplates, which are quite cool. Anyway, there's just an absolute ton of stuff. For £68, you get a full dwarf team, which I appreciate is more than Games Workshop's, because quite frankly, the Games Workshop dwarf team is pretty good. It is pretty good. The Death Roller is questionable, the ones from Games Workshop, and that's about what, £45, I think, because it's 4-year-old.
Yeah.
All right. So, how much is a dwarf team? So £24, £25 now. So £70 for a Games Workshop team, £68 for the Grebo team. And I just...
And you get a full 16.
You get more 17. Than 16.
Yeah.
You get like 20 dudes. Really impressed with the actual models. They're clean up well, they paint beautifully, they've got a good size to them. I'm just all in, but I am confused because the Games Workshop one's good, the Grebo one is fantastic, the Punga one that's halfway out now is awesome as well, and I've still got the Fanath team, which I love with all of my heart.
Yeah, so we're spoiled for choice with dwarves. I really do wish the roster was a little bit more enticing.
No.
Yeah, maybe we'll have to come up with some fun dwarf rules, which we might be able to talk about later.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I have just backed it because I saw there's 2 hours to go. I don't want to wait until the podcast is finished.
There's 14 days to go on the Kickstarter. As Ben said, that's the first 24-hour thing. That will be closed, but it's closing on Wednesday, March the 31st. You've got to the end of the month to back it. Regardless of how you feel about dwarves, they're just lovely. I'm really impressed with the miniatures. So Thunder Cougar, Falconbeards, dwarves for fantasy football. Probably the best Kickstarter I've seen for a while. We want to skip that and we want to go to this. So I'm about to show a thing, Ben, which is not a lot of use, but I'm just going to show it on the YouTube because it is the Vortice Miniatures preview. Have you had a chance to see this at all today?
I didn't see this.
Okay, so there's not really a huge amount to see. There's a 9-second video, and in the video it shows castle gates with 2 Grim Reapers above it, and it's just called New Campaign Coming Soon, posted by Vortice Miniatures. Now, Vortice Miniatures are the guys who did the they've done a load of stuff to be fair, but most recently the Death King's Guardians, which was the Khemri team that was kind of kind of cartoony as well. So they've posted this video today saying there's a new project going, we've nearly finished sending out all your stuff for the old one. I'm thinking, please bring me Khemri. And they're going to be going for a new one. So I've messaged them already to say, you need to tell us more. This is not enough. Because, I don't know, it could just be, because they've got a castle. It could just be a stadium. Like, it could be a stadium. It could be an undead team, which would make sense given what they do. It could be anything at all. But I just thought it was worth a shout out.
Taking a leaf out of Games Workshop's book. Doing the sneaky previews where you don't really know what it is, and then you get another piece of the puzzle. So slowly.
What I would love to see is a third-party manufacturer saying that they're doing an announcement in a couple of that's full Games Workshop. Like, guys, 2 weeks Saturday we're going to do an announcement of an announcement, and everyone goes crazy.
An announcement for the pre-order.
Yeah. Oh man, every Sunday I get so excited because there's a chance that maybe in a week's time I can pre-order something to come out a week later. Every Sunday I'm like, right, 6 o'clock, refresh. It's 40k again next week. It's like, it's just crazy. It's just absolutely crazy.
It's like the Super Bowl where everyone gets really excited to be advertised to.
Oh yeah, it's really good fun. It's just that excitement. It's like, hey, here's some stuff you can maybe buy in the future. So yeah, Vortice coming soon. I think that's all the miniatures news we had. Princesses, Grebo, Vortice. Yep. So that wraps up the Blood Bowl news. We just got a couple of things to go through. First of all, I want to say a big thank you to all of you who support us through the Patreon. We massively appreciate your help. It means we can do cool stuff. We try very hard to get all our content out early to the patrons. And we also do monthly competitions as well. So we've just wrapped up a mixed team kind of mini competition, which is pretty sweet. And just want to say hello and thank you to our new patrons, David Spence, Stu Stevenson, David, Nicholas Mitchell, and Gary Doherty. So thank you very much for supporting us, and the many other people as well. It's awesome. We massively appreciate your support, and it's great to have a little a very budding and very vocal community where I can go to for feedback about what we're doing and stuff. So big thank you to everybody who supports us on there. Should we talk about the competition now, Ben? Is this the right time?
Yeah,
this is the right time. Okay, cool.
Yeah, good fun.
So we do a monthly competition on the Patreon. It's the middle of the month now. We haven't announced anything, and the reason for that is because we are going to do another competition. So we've wrapped up our painting competition. And it's time for something else. So, had a chat with Punga, and Punga have cleared us to do this, so that's why I've been kind of waiting. It's because I want to make sure that they are okay with this. What we are going to do is we're going to have a team design competition. We'll go into it in a second, and the winner will win a 3D printed Punga dwarf team. Okay, so I know there's a Grebo team going on, and it's an incredible Kickstarter, but Punga are going through their Patreon, and they've done half the dwarf team this month. The rest of the team's going to come out at the end of the month, which means just in time for us to kind of wrap up the competition and get them printed. We would like to do this, and the competition is going to be... It's something that we talked about last week. We talked about many times before. We've got this cracking situation right now where there's like 7 dwarf teams that you want to run. But like Ben said, the roster's not massively exciting. They're all the same team, and there's not really a lot you can do with it. There's 2 choices. You run a dwarf team, or you take a death roller and lose the game. Okay, that's it. Those are 2 choices, and they're not great. Got us talking about things we've spoken about before. So this is going to be an adjusted roster competition. So what we want you to do is take any roster that's already there in Blood Bowl and tweak it to make it different, to make it play different. Whether it's thematic or from a gameplay point of view, we want you to come up with what you think would be a cool addition to the team, whether it's in a limited environment. So I was thinking, for starters, like a Dwarf Kingdoms League, okay, where you've got one team where there's no runners but extra slayers, that kind of thing, or a Skaven under league where actually this team's got no blitzers but they've got extra gutter runners, or they've got a warpfire thrower in it. Basically, we just want you to come up with a team with an adjustment, whether it's just the number of positionals or added a new positional, something like that, but based on one of the 29 rosters that are out at the moment. I figure that's a pretty good place to start. And just, let your creative juices flow. So, yes, what is it I've called it? An adjusted roster design competition. We're launching it now here on this episode, which obviously the patrons will get first. And we're going to do one winner from our Patreon and one winner from everybody else in the world, and you'll both get the same prize, which is a printed dwarf team by me or Ben, depending on which one of us loses rock paper scissors, and which one of us fixes our printer first. To be fair, I've already printed a team of what we've got already, and need to do a little review video of these guys because they are very cool as well. So yes,
You really are, yeah.
I just thought it'd be cool, and we'll talk about it in a couple of weeks' time on the podcast. No, a couple of episodes' time. So closing date will be the 10th of April. It's a Saturday, I think, and that gives me and Ben a good few days to go through the entries and then chat about it on the podcast before we release that episode, which will be on the 17th. So winner announced on the 17th. Get your entries in to us by the 10th, please. And I'll do a splash somewhere else so you can see what our competition is going to be. So yeah, I thought we'd do that. I thought it'd be cool. I'm really excited to see what everyone comes up with. And
me too.
The last thing to mention is the story competition. You guys do keep asking about the PDF. Unfortunately, I didn't actually hear back from a lot of the people who sent the stories in. And when I say a lot, I mean we heard back from about a third. And I didn't really want to put the PDF out with just a third of the entries. So give me a bit more time. I'll go back, and if you're listening to this and you never got back to us, or you didn't hear from us or something, then let us know, because we really want to share the stories. But I didn't really want to do it with only 10 of the stories, and just I haven't forgotten. I just didn't want to release it a third done. So that is why you guys haven't seen the story PDF. But I will chase everybody up and see what we can do, because they're so cool and really cool. But I refuse to share something that somebody has put their work into without them being okay with it. And I don't know, it doesn't feel right to me. So I'm sorry if you guys feel a bit let down that it hasn't been out yet. It's just I don't want to upset somebody who put so much time and effort into it. So yes, that's why. I hope you understand. Right, Ben, we done news. Let's take a quick break and chat about hobby, man. And we're back, and it's hobby time. So Ben, I know you've been having difficulties with the printer, so we'll circle back round to that. What have you been hobbying?
I've been working on some orcs from RTLW. So I said when I'm done with the ogres, I will do some Blood Bowl, and I lied twice. I'm not done with the ogres, and I'm not doing Blood Bowl. I decided to pick up some 40k.
That means you've only lied once, though.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
that's true.
You haven't broken the. When I finish this, I'll just if you never finish it, you can always paint wherever you want. Problem solved.
Yeah, yeah. There you go. In perpetual, just do what I want.
Games lawyered.
Perfect. Yeah,
I think that's what happened with me, which is why I flit around from project to project and never really finish anything until there's a tournament or a YouTube series to film.
That's how everything goes. I don't know how people finish things. I really don't.
Yeah, hate
Much
that.
respect for anyone who finishes anything.
And we see this on Wednesday every now and again. Someone's like, "Hey, I competed this team," and I'm like, "What is that like?"
Yeah.
It's wicked. So those RTLW 40k orcs are massive and awesome.
I love them so much. I've painted one about halfway through a second, and I'll be honest. I think the one I've painted is the best model I've painted. I'm so happy with it. It's like in front. I have it sat on my desk, and I'm just like, I'm really chuffed with that. It took ages. It took like quite a few, like about a week solid of paint. Oh, not solid because I waited quite a long time.
And Ben also has a job as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It was a good night's worth of painting, but yeah, they're busy models. There's a lot going on. Yeah, they're very, very nice.
And you say
I think they call them Iron Nookers.
The best model you've painted, and I've seen a lot of your painting stuff. It's really good, but this orc is fantastic. I'll try and put it on the screen if I can remember, just so you guys can see. But the red is beautiful, the skin is beautiful, the grime is everywhere. It is awesome, and it sucks you've got another 2 to paint.
Another 5.
Oh my god! Yeah. That's all right. That's another 2 months sorted.
Yeah.
How much are you airbrushing?
So I've got a good method now. So I've basically give it a zenithal, and then I do all the armor with a. Oh, sorry, I do the face with a green. So I airbrush the green face on. I could probably just paint that, but it's quick with an airbrush. But then I mask it, and then do all the armor with a red ink, and that lets the zenithal really shine through because ink is quite translucent. Well, it's thin.
Yeah.
It's quite opaque, but when you have it thin, it's really good, really rich. So you get that really, really vibrant red. And then I pretty much. I fill in the metal gaps, like all the trim, and then I pretty much cover it in black oil, black oil paint. Thin down black oil paint.
That's just fancy Agrax, but yeah.
It is, but it settles differently. I tried a couple of things with the second one where I had some of it matte and some of it gloss, and it behaves so differently. So the ink normally dries gloss, and if you use the oil paint on that, it pretty much ignores the surface and seeps down into the recess. It's kind of like how you want a wash to act. With the matte, I've matte varnished it in advance. It sticks to it, and it just grimes the hell out of it, and I love it. So I pretty much covered it in matte varnish, oil washed it with that, and I kind of like stippled the oil wash on as well. So it's kind of controlled oil washing.
But that must be so satisfying. Like
it really is.
Adding
it takes
weathering.
3 days to dry.
There you go. Then that's part of this the time element there. But yeah, it's so like adding weathering is so satisfying. When I painted up Team Yankee stuff and Flames of War stuff, like here's green, here's a little highlight of green, and then war happens, and you just add all the depth, and it just starts looking so good. And then you go back and touch up high points, and it just makes the whole model look super 3D.
Yeah.
Oh man,
I absolutely love it.
Well, I think it's a hobby.
Sorry, yeah, no, absolutely. It's kind of like you get the feeling when you do a model and you kind of like look at it and you think that makes me really happy. I kind of have that feeling with them. Yeah. It's just the sculpt is so nice. I'm really proud of them. Yeah, I look at them and they make me happy. That's been my hobby.
That's perfect. Right, my hobby, I've been doing 2 main things. One is painting the dwarves from Grebo. just really loving them. I have been chilled. Like I'm in the middle of a week's holiday at the moment, but I spent one day supporting with resourcing and recruitment. I spent 2 days basically in bed because I got ill, because I'm off, because that's just what happens when like, it's a Greenman tradition. When you have time off, you get poorly. And I still look bad. Like Tiff was really sweet the other day. She was like, "Wow, you look awful." I'm like, Thank you. I'm very glad we're getting married in 2 months. That's really nice. And my eyes still look absolutely horrific. I look like Craig when he first had a child. Like, it's really bad. So I've been doing some painting. I did have a whole day, when was it, Tuesday, and spent time working on the Engage rulebook, which was lovely. Like, I love the Blood Bowl stuff. I love the YouTube stuff we're doing. I love it all. And it was just wicked to just take a day and do something completely different, which is probably, ties into why you're enjoying painting that Artel stuff so much. One thing I didn't enjoy is that I found a bunch of cool spaceship models. I was like, these will be good for variety, and printed them. And I went to look at the print plate today, and the print plate was empty. Absolutely empty. And there's a little message on the screen saying print complete, and I'm like, brilliant, this print, yeah. So I need to empty that out again. Which is so
scrape off the bottom of the film, try not to damage it, and get your hands all sticky.
Like I did a print the other week, and I took it off, and part of just a tiny corner of some of the little ships is just missing. It's just warped ever so slightly. I was like, there's something wrong here. And yeah, so I've had a couple of failed prints, so I'm gonna have to strip that out again. I don't have your patience, Ben. I might just sack it off and buy a couple more resin trays. It's a really, really, really wasteful way to do it, but I don't know. I will go in and I'll strip it out and I'll give it another go. I think I didn't level it. I think when I emptied it before, I must have just knocked it or something, and it hasn't leveled right. Hopefully that's what it is, and because you don't normally get an entire fail if there's stuff in the bottom of the tray, do you? You get like chunks of it fails, or bits missing, where it hasn't been able to go all the way down. Hey, there's always the chance that I just didn't make the print right either. There was some pre-supported stuff in there, because I always fill the tray. I always fill the tray, and it takes me like 2 hours to determine what to print. So I'm like, I'll just quickly put a print on, and then there's 3 inches left, and I'm like, what do I have that I need to print? Do I want to print these War Master Orcs? Do I want to print these Mushroom Men? Like, I spend like ages trying to find stuff that I don't need, but because I refuse to put a print on. So
I'm starting to try and find the balance between. So filling it is great. When your printer's working like back to back, then you fill it.
Yeah.
But I'm starting to try and find this balance now where I do like 2 or 3 things, because then it's less waste and you feel less bad when stuff doesn't print.
Yeah.
Especially if it's half printed. Like when it's half printed and you gotta throw resin away, that sucks. Because that's actually like waste. When it kind of sticks to the bottom, you only lose a little bit. It's just your time and effort that's gone. But yeah.
Yeah. I think you're right, but I've been trying to print out some more Battlefleet Gothic stuff and everything. I was gutted, but I did some work on the rulebook. That was pretty fun. With painting the Grebo dudes, that's been great. And I did actually get some Blood Bowl in. I played and lost 2 more games of Fumble to round out the league. My Slan team, love Slan, but they just got murdered in week 6. And I mean murdered. Like, I had 4 players left, and they did not recover. Like, I lost 2 catchers, I lost a bunch of linemen, I had 5 journeymen for 1 game, and then like Croxagore got taken out this next game as well, so I had to play against Ian Triplow and his OWA team with no Croxagore, and he played a stonking game. I was so impressed. Not with Ian's very good, but OWA aren't. But man, he wrangled that team. Like, that team was a cohesive mess. Like, we were 6 weeks in, I think 6-7 weeks in. He had a bunch of skills on his guy, had some guard and stuff. And of course, guard you don't need to activate. You don't need to worry about Loner with guard. You don't have to worry about animosity with guard. So he just played them like this weird little band of combat guy. It was really, really good. I was really impressed with OWA. Which led to me putting a poll out to see if people thought they'd got better or worse. And most people think they've got better. Which is good. I mean, I think they might have. Those dwarf blockers losing dwarf blocker skills is a bit tough. But
Yeah,
I don't know. I like Brawler. I think
Brawler's fun.
I think
Yeah.
it's pretty good. Once you get some guard in there, it's 2-die blocks. Then they're basically Black Orcs, and everybody knows
Yeah.
Black Orcs are great. So yeah, been doing some painting, been doing some chilling. Got some new equipment. Got a new camera as well, which the manufacturer got back to me because it wasn't working. I've got a fix, which is cool. So that should be able to sort out one of the core bits of our coverage rigging, basically. So we can get a good shot of the camera, so that's pretty cool. We're working on that. So it's been all right. It's been all right. Got some hobby on the go, and yeah, just gonna chill out and paint those dwarves, I think, for the rest of the week.
Sounds good.
So you're just gonna spend time working on the Orky boys?
Yeah. We do have Blood Bowl stuff coming up, so I kind of I'm itching to get into some Blood Bowl, honestly. So I might finish this one and then actually start working on some teams, that we can maybe use for recording or tournaments and stuff.
Oh yeah,
I think But I've got a big backlog of teams that are half painted or barely started. So it'll be good to do that.
So what Ben's alluding to is the next kind of piece of YouTube that we're going to be doing. So we put a vote out to everybody who's on our YouTube, and it was real close. It was almost Brexit margin, but people want to see some 11s games. So we kind of been brewing up for a season. We've got to have Imperial Nobility. We've got to have the Black Orcs. We've got to have Snotlings. So that's 4. That's 3 teams, and Ben and I had a chat and actually thought that Nurgle are an interesting team in this new meta because they got nerfed ever so slightly, but we need a jolly good tier 2 team. Plus, Ben was like, I've got a Nurgle team I need to paint. Like, perfect. So that's 4 teams. We're going to need some help choosing the 2 more because we're going to have 6 in the season. So we're going to want to get these prepped and ready so that as soon as we are legally able to, we can start filming again. And it's not going to be very long. I can't remember what the actual timeline is for the rule of 6 indoors. I think that might be May, but that's it's not very long away at all. And I know that because I'm getting married in May, so it's it's really not long.
Around very fast.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Whoa! I get married 9 weeks on Saturday.
Damn.
I should probably get a suit.
Very organised.
It'll be fine. It'll be fine. Tiff and I have this agreement where we don't worry about it until the 1st of April because that's the point at which it's 8 weeks away, and because that's when we have to get the legal stuff rolling, which they won't look at until 8 weeks away. So it's kind of like, I'm just not going to worry about it until the 1st of April. Then I'll panic and it'll be fine. But you know what they say.
I'm looking forward to the tournament style coverage of the wedding.
Hey, we did joke about that, but I maintain that's a solid business idea, and I regret not ploughing on with this at the beginning of the apocalypse and just being like, you can hire us to do wedding coverage and stream it to all your guests. I think it's genius. Like even if the apocalypse had cleared up, we'd still look at our guest list and be like, we've got like 120 people that we like, and you can't really afford 120 people, and then you kind of want to take it down a bit, but then you can't not invite this person because you've got to invite this person, and you've got to invite this person even though they live on the moon and can't get here, but if you don't invite them you can't. It's just like, do you know what we should do? We should just stream it to YouTube.
Yeah,
I think we should.
Honestly, you're selling your idea though. You're giving it away.
Not organised. I can't even. I'm getting married in 9 weeks, and I can't even organise my own suit. I don't think there's much danger of me doing the wedding coverage idea ever. Then again, this new camera is pretty sweet, so I'm quite happy with this. Yeah. Oh, Matt, talking about tournament coverage, Ben, we didn't even mention Bonehead Bowl.
Yes, that is quite an important detail.
Yeah, we announced it. You would have seen it if you follow us on anything at all. It's Saturday, the 3rd of July. It is currently limited on numbers because basically the way Entoyment want to do this is make sure that if social distancing is still as it is, no one has to be turned away. So 24 spaces. We are fully booked right now. We're hoping that actually as it gets closer to the time we can open up, another 6 to 12 spaces depending on the rules and everything, but super excited to have a tournament to aim for again. And then 3 weeks after that, there's one on the Isle of Wight, which I think a few of us are going to go across to. Sand Bowl 3. Yep. They are heathens and make you take a star player in your starting 11, though. Which is
I think that's just exciting.
Yeah, it is. It's very good. We talked about this back in the old times. So basically, Hack Phlegm tournament on the Isle of Wight, I think. Or just Grack and Crumbleberry in every team ever.
Oh, they work. They do their thing.
I love Grack and Crumbleberry. Right. And the thing is, this is the funny thing. Like, we've got 4 months, 3.5 months till the tournaments kind of start happening again. We've got Deathzone landing. We don't know which of those rules are going to be tournament legal. There could easily be another team out by then. Which is quite interesting because that could change so much. So it's really kind of exciting to be 3.5 months out and know that Games Workshop can drop something new within a kind of realistically 3 weeks, 4 weeks from spoiler to release. So that's pretty cool. Excited for that. I think that basically wraps up hobby and bits and bobs. Ben, anything else from you?
No, I think that's about it. Been quite a rapid but chill couple of weeks. Yeah. Very fast.
It's been really fast. We're hurtling towards summer, which is amazing because that means we're hurtling towards filming games and playing games and Blood Bowl in real life. I never thought I'd be so excited to go outside with people.
I know.
But I genuinely am. Right. Let's take a time to talk about Deathzone. And we're back. So, on the 5th of March, Games Workshop did a thing. They released a pitch side report saying the Deathzone Supplement is coming. So, there's not a huge amount of details out about it, but what we're going to do is we're going to talk through the actual details and kind of just speculate on what that's going to be, what's going to happen, what could not happen. So, Deathzone, the ultimate Blood Bowl companion, is going to come out. Before we even look inside, Ben, what kind of time frame do you expect for this to be released in?
It's so hard to tell because Games Workshop have announced so much stuff lately.
Is the Tree Man out yet?
No. I actually had to think for a second.
The Croxigor isn't. We've never seen the Croxigor, to be fair. They're just like, Lisbon are good enough without the Croxigor.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Tree Man took like a year to come out. So
it did. This is a book though, and they tend to release books quite quick. So I don't know. I reckon maybe it's a month or two away.
I reckon May. May, which is good. That would be good for us. That gives us enough time to kind of adjust anything that needs to happen ready for the tournament. So basically, let's talk through what's in there. Let's talk through what's in there at the moment. So you'll find lots of ways to keep things fresh inside, from game-changing options for every coach, like a huge variety of mercenary players, which we'll talk about in a second. These freelance players aren't quite as well known as star players yet, but they offer crucial skills to patch up a weak spot in a team's roster and allow you to mix things up to keep your rivals guessing. There's 5 broad categories and loads of option for each. There's a mercenary that's just right for teams of any size and disposition, including a big guy, a non-race specific big guy, just the bona fide big guy, which is quite interesting. There's traits.
We talk about that.
Yeah, let's just go straight into it. Yeah. So the bona fide big guy is 130k, movement 4, strength 5, edge 4+, passing 5+, armor 9+, bonehead, loner 4+, mighty blow +1, and throw teammate. What are your thoughts, Ben?
This is really interesting because this opens up. There's one thing that excites me the most about this, which I'll probably say at the end. But I think the fact that this is kind of like ogre stats. I think it's a bit slower, isn't it?
Yeah.
But for 10k less, like there's pretty much an ogre price of 10k is worth, one movement.
One movement and thick skull, I think, is missing.
Yes, okay, yeah.
And armor, actually.
Oh, it's 9+. Oh yeah, you're
Yeah,
right. Yeah,
thinking
I keep
old
reading
school
that as
Armor 9. Yeah,
Yeah. I'll say so, but still, 130k is very affordable as an inducement. That's kind of what you would want. Um, the fact that it has throw teammate, that's pretty interesting because there are a couple of teams right that have right stuff but no one to throw.
no, there is
Oh, are there none?
no. Skinks are the only stunty, but they don't have right stuff. Everybody
Right.
else,
I guess maybe I'm thinking of like teams like Underworld, which could take a Rat Ogre
yes.
and then induce this.
I mean, Ben,
Yeah.
I'm going to jump on here. Let's reframe this from a 10k discount from an ogre to a 15k upgrade from a troll.
Yeah, that's very true.
You've got a goblin team, a snotling team, a whatever. It's a goblin team with this guy, 130k, same movement as a troll, but bonehead rather than really stupid. No, always hungry, and it's Ag 4 instead of Ag 5, which isn't massively different. But unless you're trying to dodge or something, it's got Loner 4+, but everybody's got Loner 4+. Well, that's not true. Some of them have got Loner 3+, but it doesn't matter because Bonehead is just so much better than really stupid and always hungry if you're going to be throwing stuff.
And on a team like Goblins or Snotlings, you're going to have 130k.
Basically, if we allow this in anything and everything, Goblins and Snotlings just got an ogre on their team.
Yeah, that's quite substantial. You know,
It's
a Goblin team with Ripper, who throws reliably. Not obviously this is Bonehead, but that's not that much different.
no, it's
compared
not
to really stupid in that. Yeah, Ripper changes a lot for the throwing game of Goblins.
Yep.
So yeah, for 130k to do, it's basically half the price of Ripper to kind of do the same thing just on a 2+.
So
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
I mean, what about this? Like halflings as well. Like take one tree, and then you get the cash. You just chuck this guy on instead, and he's just not as good at throwing as a tree by all means, but he's movement 4. It's just he's definitely different. He's got loner, so it is less good. But I don't know, like you get those times where you're like, can't quite afford this. Can't quite afford this. Do I take a reroll or do I just take a big guy? So really intriguing as to whether this is going to be what this is going to be legal in. Mercenaries not normally allowed from Blood Bowl 16 in tournament settings. So I don't think we'll see mercenaries in tournaments because they're a match inducement, aren't they? You wouldn't normally see them. I think we'll see them banned because I think Ian Warhammer immediately twigged to this one and was like, oh, cool. I can take an ogre on my Amazon team. And I'm like, no. Like, I'd trade a big guy for 2 blitzers. That's fine. That's a bargain. I'm happy with that. But not just my Amazon team.
To deal with.
Yeah, my Amazon team comes in at 1 million with all the skills I need. It's a TV 1200 tournament. Yeah, I'll take a big guy as well. Like, oh my gosh. I know. But it is really cool because if this is a league only inducement, do you take a wizard or do you take a bona fide big guy at 130?
Now, I think that's the question we always ask, and I think this is really a case where it's tough.
Is this
It's
better than
really
a wizard?
tough.
Yes.
I think this is better than a wizard
Hugely. And I love wizards.
Yeah. It doesn't do stuff instantly like a wizard can do in a clutch situation, but just the presence of having, an ogre light on the board is really, really, really big.
Yeah. I mean, 1 movement, 1 armor. Do you know what? That's fine. Like, that's just fine because you're there for the strength 5 and you're in the brawl
Mighty
anyway.
Blow.
Yeah, you got Mighty Blow. Mighty Blow is absolutely huge. So that's not it. That's not all, because there's also a bit underneath it that says you might want to search even further to find one that's got a reputation for brutality instead of tossing their teammates down the pitch. That's where trait packages come in. So we're going to see different trait packages. They let you pick exactly what you're looking for. So trait package here, gain the Frenzy skill, the Animal Savagery trait, and the Claws and Prehensile Tail mutations, but lose throw teammate for 20k more. Available to teams with Badlands Brawl, Favoured of, Lustrian Super League, Sylvanian Spotlight, or Underworld Challenge special rules.
I'm so glad, because could you imagine humans with a frenzy claws thing?
Yeah, humans, dwarves, halflings, like, yeah, it's interesting. This one's really interesting, but this is chaos, man. This is like your chaos team gets a rat ogre.
Pretty much with claws.
This is a rat ogre. Like
it's kind of, I think it's more akin to a bloodthirster because it has claws and frenzy.
Yeah, but so does the rat ogre.
It gets claws, mighty blow, and frenzy for 150k.
Oh, that is a bargain, isn't it? Like, that is really ramping up the carnage at this point.
And
so,
prehensile tail. That's really good.
It's a poor man's rat ogre.
This is what we take instead of a beast of noble. We take this frenzy claws.
Yeah,
big guy.
I think potentially so. So this is really interesting. This is really interesting, Ben. I mean, I'm a little bit scared from a tournament point of view, but if it's just for league inducements, how do you think this? Like, is this bad? Is this good? What do you think?
I think this is good. I think more options are usually always better. Presenting the options gives you also the option to say, let's not do this in our league because it's a bit too much. But I think the fact that this exists, I think, is really cool. And I'll say the point that I was saying to the end for it is I like that it's just a big guy, which means you can make it whatever you want and no one's going to complain. You know, you can tie this into your team and you can say that I've made this thing that's technically not part of my team. If I'm ever drawn back, he's coming in. And it can be this like awesome like chaos thing. It could be
Death Roller,
a star ogre. It can be anything with that stat line. That is just a base big guy that kind of encompasses everything.
Exactly. Okay, so my next question for you is: it says there's 5 different categories. Is that right? I'm sure it says 5. Huge varieties of players with 5 broad categories. So Bonafide big guy is 1. What else do you think we'll see?
Yeah.
Do you think we'll see a stunty?
Probably. Yeah. That would be really interesting, actually, having a stunty. Because there are teams with big guys and no stunties. Am I getting that wrong again?
Human nobility.
Oh, nobility. Yeah, you're right.
You know, hire a cheeky halfling on there. But also, it just gives you...
I meant with right stuff, but then the Crocs doesn't even have 13.
It gives you extra, though, doesn't it? It gives you Chaos Renegades, potentially another stunty guy to buddy up.
That is very true.
And also, if that comes in low, so let's look at this star player. This mercenary is halfway kind of between a troll and an ogre, about 130. If they brought a bona fide stunty in, it could be 40k. You know, with halfling stats. Well, that's an inducement anybody can say. They've got an extra player. You can just take him with 40k, chuck him on the line. Or you could use him to run around and foul, for example. Or you can use him as ammunition. You know, not a great place to be, but that's pretty cool as well.
Yeah, that's really exciting.
I'm intrigued. Okay, so the big guy we've seen, potentially a stunty. I think probably a stunty. Do you think we'll see like a blitzer, a passer, and a catcher?
It's just really interesting because it's like when you start talking about that, then you're just sort of going into star player territory, right? It's kind of just you've got this player who does stuff for a fixed price.
Well, that's what these guys. That's their designation. Like a huge variety of mercenary players. These freelance players aren't quite as well known as star players yet, but they offer crucial skills. So I wonder if it's just kind of like a generic, I need a blitzer for this game. I will hire a poor man's Griff.
Need someone with block.
Yeah, that's quite interesting.
I like it.
I mean,
I kind of like it as a fixed alternative to star players, if I'm honest. I think there's like a market for that because sure, I love the stars. I love all the star players. I think they're all fantastic. But there is the element of, you know, I think we were maybe talking about it the other day where it's like you have characters in your game that aren't your dudes. They are the world's dudes.
We were talking about AOS and stuff, weren't we?
Yeah, where, you know, you're fighting a battle and it's, you know, why is Nagash here?
Nagash is here. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Every battle, it's all these star players of Warhammer. Like, man, these guys must be bored of fighting themselves, fighting each other repeatedly. We kind of gave it a free pass for stars because it's their job to get hired for games, but...
Exactly, yeah.
It does take...
It kind of lets you create your own, and I think that's really exciting. Really exciting.
And you're exactly right. What you could do as a league is just create a bunch of mercenaries for people to hire and give them a name for your league or something like that. Like, it's just cool. But yeah, I'm really hoping we'll see stunties. The trait packages are quite interesting as well.
Yeah.
You know, maybe we'll see it. I reckon for a big guy one, we might see a troll trait package that gives you projectile vomit and regeneration, something like that.
Most likely, yeah.
Yeah, but gives them really stupid, and it's 20k off, so you can get a poor man's troll for 110k or something.
Yeah, there might be one with the what's it called? Strong arm, maybe.
Ooh, that would be.
That,
well, yeah. I mean, at that point, I don't know why they haven't just said, and it's an ogre, and it's a poor man's rat ogre. But I'm with you. I'm with you. I like the fact you got a bit of a design your own big guy. It's the freaking dream as far as Blood Bowl comes. So we've looked at mercenaries. I'm a bit worried about them for tournaments, but you don't have to include them. For league, I actually really love it. I think if you're down 150k, I think it's a great place to be, and it's more of an equalizer, I think, than a star.
Massively,
or at least
especially with the clause frenzy prehensile tail one.
Yeah,
I think that's a really
150k. You've got a rat ogre on your team, and it's not going to help you score a load, but it's going to help you survive. And I think that's really useful. And I think we play a lot of league. Like, a league is our huckleberry. We've normally got 2 or 3 leagues on the go at any one time, which is pretty sweet. And this is the kind of thing that's going to go down well, I think, with league players. Real nice, because if you're down 150, 200k, you're not in for a good match normally, because there's not a lot you can take. Maybe a wizard, and maybe it'll work. Actually, if you can just take an ogre or a rat ogre and chuck it on your team to help you brawl, that's a reasonable equalizer. I like that.
Yeah, really is.
I like that.
Really
so the next thing they talk about is there are plenty of other ways to shake up your games. One of the most common is a change of venue. In Deathzone, you'll also find all sorts of information about playing games in different environments. Playing game underground, caught in a blizzard. So I'm assuming this is like pitches and stadiums, maybe?
Yeah, it sounds similar to what they had for, they would release on the back of the pitch, the pitch boxes.
Yeah.
They give it some rules. Kind of just like that, isn't it?
The Necro pitch rules were in the Spike as well.
Yeah, that's true.
But you're right. So they've got 2 example rules here. One is bubbling up from below. The players are aghast as viscous liquid begins to seep up from below. Whether this is a natural phenomenon, a result of sabotage, or a dire warning that the stadia has no place being built above sewage pipes is definitely not pleasant. All players on the pitch subtract 1 from their movement. And the next one is freezing. When a player falls over or is knocked down, the coach of the opposing team must apply a +1 modifier when making an armor roll against them. So, they're kind of like, these look like global things rather than thematic pitches. This is like a +1 movement, -1 movement. Potentially, we'll see passing modifiers in here as well, Ben.
That would be cool. I love that, We love passing. So it'd be good to have stuff like that. Breezy, carries the ball.
Yeah, exactly. But, bubbling up from below, actually, -1 to all movement. If everybody is slower, passing gets better, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because that would be the same as saying quick passes are 4 squares, because it's kind of the same thing. And that's I like that. That's a cool little meta shift. So we're going to see some terrain rules, some setting rules, which I think is really cool, and I'm very excited to see that. Whether you run them in your league or not, I don't know. What did we used to do at ours to get the stadiums into use?
I can't remember. I don't think I ever used one. I know a couple of players did. Didn't we give like an incentive where you give like an extra? It
was an extra
money.
Yeah, extra 10k if you'd used a random stadium.
Yeah,
kind of added a bit of risk. It was definitely an option. Anyway, we've slow rolled this. The most exciting thing here is that Blood Bowl 7s is now official Games Workshop territory.
Love this.
Oh man, this is just the biggest news. Talking of different ways to play, ever tried a game of 7s? Named for the smaller size of the teams, 7s is a beloved version of the game. It's usually played by amateur teams for fun, practice, or the attention of a franchise recruiter. Along with a smaller team, 7s is played on a smaller pitch, and the action is that much more intense for it. While the rules are very similar, the smaller format makes the game much faster to play and set up. Busy coaches will love it. You can still take part in leagues, hiring and advancing players just like you would with full-sized games. And look at the pitch. There is a pitch. There is going to be a Games Workshop pitch for sevens. I hope it's going to be double-sided. There's still trapdoors. The pitch is the same size as the sevens pitches we use in Ben, so that's fantastic. I was terrified. When I first heard this, I was like, oh no. So this does bring about a couple of things I want to chat about, Ben. And the first one of those is, do you think they'll change anything?
I think we'll see some changes. I think it's always been a thing with the kickoff table and stuff, right? When that's always been different. I think we'll probably have an official different kickoff table. Probably going to be quite similar to the one we already use.
Yeah.
Other than that, I think, I hope not, because Sevens is in a really good place. We love Sevens. It's always so much fun. It's kind of like if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I can't really think of much to change in Sevens. I hope they don't take the shorter passing route and stuff like that.
That would be, I wouldn't enjoy that. I forgot about that.
Yeah, because it's already, passing's really fun in Sevens because it really is a game changer when you pull off a cool pass.
And now it's harder to do, essentially. Like it's not.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, my biggest concern at first was, although now you said the passing thing, I'm like, I forgot about that. But I thought about the roster changes, because back in the day it was half positionals, then it got changed to 0 to 4 positionals. We've talked about this a couple of times about which one we prefer, which one we think is going to be better for the game and everything. I love the 0 to 4. I would not be opposed if they went half positionals. Like, that would be fine. I'd be okay with that. It wouldn't change things massively. Like, it would just mean we've got new builds to take, and that's okay. Like, I really love choosing 4 positionals. I think that, but actually being able to take half a team, it would be fine if that's what they did. However, Ben, what if they do it in a way that somehow works with the sprues? So I think you guys mentioned this in the chat.
Yeah, because that's like Blitzball, right? You buy a Blitzball box and you get half a box. You get 1 sprue, don't you?
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised if that's the kind of route they go down, because they already have those Blitzball. That's a hard thing to say. Blitzball boxes. They already have those for sale in the countries that have Blitzball. So, I would expect them to go down that kind of route.
Yeah, and that's kind of, we've seen it with OWA, we've seen it with Underworld and kind of what they're doing with stuff. And I did wonder if that's kind of where they'll head. But on the plus side, you do need 7 players, and that means that what is it? Undead, Necro, Snotlings. Well, the only.
Yeah, it would be awkward if they did that.
Yeah, so maybe we won't. Maybe, and this is the best possible outcome, is they just drop it basically the same as it is right now. 0 to 4 positionals. Rerolls are twice the price. Half the price would be interesting. And I'm just really excited to see if they change anything about the format. Rosters changing, passing rules changing. It's interesting they put here you can still take part in leagues, hiring and advancing players just like you would with full-sized games of Blood Bowl. That can get out of hand in sevens because you just,
start to become an 11s team.
Hey, that'd be a great story. Like, that would be a really great story. But the next cool thing is, while the rules are familiar, we've done that bit, perhaps the best part of Sevens is a new type of inducement that represents the way amateur teams play. These desperate measures, that's what they're called, add loads of character, like this one, which represents entrenched rivalries between local teams. This one's called Grudge Match. Your team has a long-standing and violent rivalry with the opposition. You may use this desperate measure at the start of one of your team turns before any player is activated. For the duration of this team turn, your team can commit any number of fouls rather than just one.
Love this so much. This is this is really Sevens.
Now,
it really is, when you've got that kind of ridiculousness.
It is. Like, this is formatted as if it's from the rules, as opposed to a special play card. So I'll be interested to see how this works as an inducement, whether it is a menu you can choose, which I think would be absolutely fine. Like, chuck it in, have a menu, put them each one at a different price, and you're allowed to kind of go, all right, for 30k I'll take this. Or we'll see a 7 special play card deck.
Yeah.
Again,
to be fair, I look at this Grudge Match deck, and it's quite scary. Like,
Yeah, one
This is
turn,
pretty
multiple
big.
fouls.
Yeah, and you don't have that many players in sevens. You take out 2 key players with a couple of fouls.
Well, that's not it. It's not only that. It's their War Dancer goes down. You foul them with one dude, it doesn't work. You then move in and foul them with another dude, and that's it. Like, that's probably the bigger thing, is it's not just fouling multiple people. Like, if it works, then yeah, you are. But having a chance to foul a dude 2 or 3 times at a turn, massive.
Yeah.
Massive. I'm not even going to bother running the numbers.
You say a player like a War Dancer carries a team in sevens, you know.
Yeah, it's basically most of the team when it comes to Wood Elves, depending on the team value, which I think they'll probably stick to 600 because it just works really well. So this is the cool thing though. Blood Bowl 7s is a fantastic way to try out a new team or perfect a tricky play you've been working on. You'll find yourself looking for excuses to play this alternate version once you've got a few games under your belt. That just sums up sevens, so I'm hoping that it will stay similar. All this, and I've barely even scratched the surface. Deathzone is loaded with lots of great stuff, including new inducement, options of various types of stadiums, unique balls, special match events, and more. So this just looks like a compendium of this. I think this is going to give us so much content, and I'm so excited. I just cannot wait for this to drop, mostly so I can find out what's happened to sevens. But actually, yeah, I think the sevens thing is the thing I'm most looking forward to in this one. How about you?
For me, it's the bona fide big guys. I think if these are really well balanced and we can use them in league, I just think it's going to be a hobby, wonderfulness.
That is really true, actually. It gives you an option to kind of brew up, build a model, paint something cool to support your team. I love it. I'm really excited for this. From a tournament point of view, I don't think we'll see any of this hit except sevens. I don't think we'll see mercenaries in most competitive play, and I think that's appropriate because it does throw the balances of the teams out. When you're getting inducements, you're just trying. You are literally trying to up your balance. So I feel like this is fine. But in a tournament, like 1.2 million teams going against each other, one's got an extra rat ogre. I mean, I'm excited, clearly, but I don't think that would be the best for balance. Not that Blood Bowl's balanced anyway, but still, so cool. So cool. Right, we have nothing else to cover on Deathzone. I just think it's going to be really exciting. Cool. Let's move on to the next bit. So the last thing we want to talk about today is franchise leagues. So this is kind of something that we spoke about a couple of times. I came across this thing in Fumble. It's called College Fumble. It's really it's clearly a labour of love for these people. And essentially what it is it's there to mimic kind of how the American football season works. There are dedicated teams. They're all named. There's 32 of them. And what they do is they bring in coaches to pilot a specific team. And as the next coach takes over, that team stays the same. So between seasons, they'll swap coaches. Some coaches will play, some coaches will drop out, and then they look for somebody else. They recruit somebody else to take over one of the teams that's been dropped. And it just got me thinking that actually that's a really cool thing to do, because we've talked about it before, Ben, haven't we? Where we like building our own team and having its own identity. And we talked about limited Magic the Gathering. No, we talked about thematic leagues. Like the Lustrium one, like a dwarf one. Where actually we're going to play a 6-week dwarf only league. These are the special rules within it. These are your teams, and you can brew up in their special rules, or stuff like that. We talked about that, and it's really cool. But your angle is that you create a team during that window. You play. It's like a one-shot D&D adventure. You create a character, you run it on this adventure, and then the character is gone because it sits outside of canon. This is a kind of like inverse of that, in that you as a coach just drop in, pick up somebody else's team, run it for a season or 2 seasons or whatever, develop that team, and then move on. And it got me thinking about a couple of different things. First of all, Ben, I described that when we did 7 Super Series, We brought a coach on, they ran a team, they chose a skill, and they handed that team over to the next coach. I mean, you played, I don't know, like 6 games or more in 7 Super Series, so you were there for like half of them. How did that feel for you as a coach?
I love it. I think it's really cool to see the decisions someone else does with the same team. I think there's a lot to learn. So I think I enjoyed it more from watching how other people played differently than how I played them. And like what we kind of did with that, didn't we, is we kind of chose a skill to give them because we kind of leveled them up at the end of each game.
Yeah.
That was really cool because you kind of leave a bit of personal touch on them. And so you kind of like set your next coach up saying, this is what I think is going to be good. I've put my bit of flavor in that. You go make it work. I really like that. And it's, yeah, like I said, it's really satisfying to watch someone else sort of coach them, and you can be like, oh, they did that. Oh, maybe I should have done that. And that's really cool.
Or that time Rick gave multiple blocks with Tree Man.
Yeah.
In sevens, and it never quite played out, but you know, it's just, I thought that element was one of my favorite things of sevens, like of our series, was the incremental like improvement, and it's definitely something we want to bring back. Hopefully we're going to find a way to include you guys as listeners and viewers as well. That would be really sweet for us to find a way to do that. I don't know how we're going to do it with the recording schedule, but we've got 6-7 weeks to figure that out, and also to paint six teams, and that's fine. But we can do that. That means we've got 5 weeks to worry about it and 1 week to do it. You know, I love that element because the teams themselves started creating character that was bigger than just a coach. So in our league team, like Ben, you played in our league a couple of seasons. Was it ever that you were like, oh, it's the Lambourne Miners? Or was it, oh, it's James's Dwarves? You know, and when you played against me, was it, oh, it's the Never Bay Nightmares? Or was it, oh, just Ben's horrible Skaven team?
You kind of think of it as the coach, right? You kind of think like, that's, I'm playing Ben Skaven more
than
more than the team itself. Yeah, you remember the coach, I think.
So it really, I'm the same. Like, couldn't tell you most of our teams in their league their names except for when I did like the results and stuff. But when you think about our 7 Super Series, you know, like the Carvelings, they were just like, it was the Carvelings, you know, and the Red Skulls. It was just like, they are teams. And the really cool thing about being involved with the College Fumble League, which I literally joined yesterday, been talking to them for a couple of weeks, is I am now going to be the Yuan Jin head coach. And I've got, now they went deep, so this is definitely something to talk about. So the College Fumble team, they've basically got custom rosters for 32 teams. And I mean custom rosters. Everything is unique. Like, there's the linemen, like on my team, they're 5,229. Okay, and they're 10k each. Every player, every player is unique. They have like set rules to build it and everything, which is quite an extreme way of doing it. But the whole point is they've built 32 different identities. Like, Ben, I know you're kind of not massively involved in NFL, but like there are some teams that have certain play styles. So it'd be like picking up, you know, the Browns, and they don't have any catchers, they've just got extra blitzers, you know, that kind of thing. Or, you know, it's the Packers, you know, their quarterbacks at edge 4. There's like elements that make your team unique. I think too much of that is probably not necessary, but the thing it made me think of was Dungeon Bowl. And the reason for this is because Dungeon Bowl, more than anything, had teams you could play that were rosters, not like teams of legend. Like, because you know, there's like, you know, the human team, and there's the Skaven Bite Scramblers, and they've got these players, and these were the players, and this is their skill. But in Dungeon Bowl, they had the Blood Axes, and the Blood Axes were made up of humans, dwarves, and something else. Can't actually remember what their third player type was. Maybe they didn't have one. But, you know, and you had like an identity. So we talked about special leagues, and we talked about how you build up your own like brand identity. How would you feel going into a league for a season and you had to redraft straight away? So say we did a mixed team thing, so we gave you a choice because there's 2 openings. There's a dwarf human roster and a ogre Skaven team. And we said, right, this is, you get a choice of those 2 teams, Ben. These are the rosters from last season. Everybody's redrafting to 1200. Which one do you fancy coaching? Like, how would you feel about joining a league like that?
See, I think that's pretty interesting. To me, I see that I don't know. I like the concept of it. I like that it's exciting. I think for me, you get attached to a tabletop team more so than an online one. So if we're going in for this as a tabletop team, I feel like I'd enjoy it less.
Interesting. Okay, that is very interesting, because obviously we focus heavily on tabletop rather than Blood Bowl 2. We play a lot of Fumble, but that's mostly because the world is closed, and it's a good way to sneak extra games in. But okay, so let's say we were doing this from a tabletop point of view. It kind of works from a YouTube angle. So if we said, here's the team. I think you've frozen on your camera, Ben. Are you still there? And we are going to take a very quick break. And we're back. We had tech issues. It's entirely my fault because the beginning of the podcast was really easy, and I was like, hey, this is going really well. Then Ben's router died.
Just like, nah.
The thing is, I need to watch the video back and listen to the recording to find out how long you were just frozen for while I was talking at you. I was like, oh, that's weird. But what we were saying is about getting a buy-in to somebody else's team on Fumble or online. There's less of an incentive. So we were talking about how and if you could get that buy-in on tabletop. So did you have any thoughts about that, Ben? So if we were to do this kind of thing on tabletop at a club night, we'll cover YouTube in a minute, but on a club night, how do you think you could do this? Or do you think it could even be done?
No, I think it's going to be it'll be pretty tricky to do. Kind of what I was getting at, I think, before my internet died. I don't know if it caught it, but it was like just the idea that for me, I think the experience of going to league and playing tabletop is to take my team and grow my team, the team that I've put love and paint into. To go and pick up a different team that I'm not really attached to, wouldn't really do it for me, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. I love the idea. I think it would be good in a limited event thing. I think maybe like a short-term event, maybe like a weekender, or it's a fast league or something like that, and you turn up, you don't know what you're going to get, and you just get given something.
There is a tournament that does that. That's done that for years, where they've got one of every team, and you get assigned a team the week of the tournament, and you don't bring anything. You just rock up and play this one team that's already prepared for you.
That sounds pretty cool. I like that idea, and in a league setting, I think that could work if it's a limited league, or
a tournament.
I think on a week by week basis, or a tournament, or a tournament. But on a week by week basis for tabletop, I think it's quite difficult, because I think the real appeal of tabletop gaming is your dudes,
Yep. I completely get that. So, what about? Okay, we'll take Dungeon Bowl again. I think it's a really solid example. In Dungeon Bowl, there's 10 different teams, and those teams are named teams, but are basically 10 different types of team. Okay, so Black Widows have undead, mummies, and trolls or something. Skeletons, mummies, and trolls. Yeah, it's on the screen. And, what if we were like, right, actually what we're going to do is, for the lols, in October, we're going to have a Dungeon Bowl month. Who wants in? And then we'll draft a team type. So, you get Doomforgers, you build a Doomforgers team. It's your team, but they are the Doomforgers for this event. I don't feel like the buy-in is going to be as good. I feel like I just it's cool to build your own team, but if you're going to build and paint your own team, you really want to do it for you, don't you?
Yeah, I think that's it.
And I think that's completely fair.
Yeah.
So
it's kind of like no one. Well, actually, I can't say no one. There's probably people out there, but not many people. I don't think I know anyone who plays the Reichland Reavers in a league.
Yes. Yeah, you're exactly
Like they get
right.
their Games Workshop box, they paint them up like that, and it's like, I have the Reichland Reavers. I don't really know anyone who does that. There's probably many people out there, and all power to you. And that's, that's great. That's how you enjoy your hobby. But I haven't had that experience.
So what about this? This is my last sort of question, I think, on this. Is, for example, the way we do our YouTube show. Like, we've got 7s. And how we're going to do it with the 11s is probably going to be very, very, very similar. So we will have the Black Mountain Buccaneers, which is the Black Orc team, right? Or the I need to check the name of the actual team. I can't remember. How do I see my desktop without wrecking the camera? The Marienburg Minotaurs, which is the nobility team. And you've got this, and it's the same for 7s. Is you turn up, you play a specific team, and then you pass it on to the next guy. What if there was a halfway house? Okay, so that's the franchise league bits. Everyone bids on a team. You can do that. Maybe you could do it for a tournament day. That might be quite fun to do. Like, actually, this year I ran the Marienburg Minotaurs, and I went 3-0, and it was really cool, and I did this. But what if, like, I think we talked about it before, but like house robots in Robot Wars?
Mm-hmm.
What if you came to an event, or you came to something, or we ran a league or something where you had to fight an end boss, or you had to fight a house team that was the same, and you took your team against a specific named team or a franchise team that someone else was running? How would that fit?
That's pretty cool.
On the buy-in scale, there you go. I answered that brilliantly.
Yeah, I think that's pretty neat, actually. Where you could kind of like, did that work? Like, did someone pick that up? Let's say if they chose not, like, they didn't really want to carry on their league team, or are you just saying that's like a one-off? Someone would be playing the house team.
Well, actually, what I was thinking of is, I was brainstorming ideas for when the world reopens, and I think we spoke about it before, of having like a drop-in 7s day where we book out the RPG room at Entoyment, and people can book in to play a challenge game or a couple of challenge games, and they play against teams from the series set. So they bring a 7s roster, and then they play 5 games of 7s for a day, and they see how well they do against the house teams. Or we run a 7s tournament, but actually last place plays against a house team. Like, every single round that player just gets dropped out and goes against one of the famous teams or something like that. It's just, I really love the idea of having a team brand, and this College Bowl thing has got me really interested about it. And the other thing, like, that I did wonder if we could do some way was, like, I was talking about this Friday Night Fumble thing, is to create 10 teams. 10 unique teams, so, or just 10 unique rosters. So the Dungeon Bowl ones fit this out perfectly, and we get people to sign up, and Ben's involved, and he's going to run the Black Widows for the 6-week league and see how he does, and then next season someone else will take over the Black Widows where he left off. Like, it's not an element of Blood Bowl I had ever thought about before at all.
No, it's really out there. It's really cool though. It's very like you say, it's kind of very real.
Yeah, it's
really awesome.
It's bigger than you. If my Skaven team goes away and no one cares, Skaven team's done. But actually, it would be really cool if, who's running the Skaven this time round? Ooh, it's James. Ian's got the undead this time. Like, he's running that league, and then you've got that classic, like, oh man, I went 3-3. I really hope he doesn't do better than me. But if he does, it's because I brewed those guys up in the first season. Or, like last season, I went 4-2, and you've messed it all up, and you've got the mummy killed, and now you're in a really rubbish spot. I feel like there is an element of Blood Bowl there that is untapped, and I'd be really interested to see if we can explore it, because that's what we do. More Blood Bowl is more better, and if there is a bigger thing, and we love the idea of competition Blood Bowl and streaming it and just having a great time, but actually if there's an element of RPG here where you can build teams and like franchises, brands in them, I think it's really cool. But the last thing I'll say is this College Fumble thing. I've put the link in the show notes. Please go and have a look, because they've got random events, they've got star players. Like, it's really highly narrative, and it's really interesting. And it's I'll be streaming all the games. They said it's fine, so I'll stream them all so you guys can watch them on YouTube. And I just think it's going to be really unique, and it's just another element of Blood Bowl that I didn't even know existed. Yeah,
really interesting. I really hadn't thought about that.
not at all, never. Dungeon Bowl was the closest thing I got to this. I was like, oh yeah, that's cool. I could build a Doomforgers team. But it was never going to be a Doomforgers team. It was always the Amethyst College. Like, I'm going to take an Amethyst College team because those teams are like this. It's never, I'm going to run the Doomforgers. You know, and I've never considered, I've always disliked it, to be honest. So I'm like, no, I'll be my team, thank you. But, you know, when there's a kind of legacy element in there, that's really interesting to me. So I'd be really interested to see what you guys out there listening think of this kind of thing. And do keep an eye out for when the games are. I'll do my best to publicise them, because actually, I don't know, it could be really interesting to watch. And, you know, more Blood Bowl is more better, and forever shall be.
Brilliant.
Groovy.
Yep.
Right, Ben. I think we've covered absolutely everything today. Is there anything else you want to touch on before we go?
I think that's covered it. Yeah.
Yeah. Really interesting. Anyway, quick reminder.
On that,
oh, sorry, go for it.
Probably. Then just waiting for that release date on the Deathzone.
Deathzone is. I'm super excited about that. Like, I just want to know what they're going to do to Sevens. Am I going to need to film 29 more videos if the builds change?
Yeah.
Part of me is very. I tell you what, it would be nice not to, but I would genuinely be really excited to have to go and brew up rosters if they change it at all. Even if they add one positional or take one positional away or something like that. It's going to be game changing, literally. Let's just hope they get out before we even get a chance to film the next 7 series, Ben. He's probably
that would be so helpful. That would be
it's probably a
really
good thing
timing.
we're doing 11s first.
Yeah.
Right, guys, we are going to wrap up for now. Do not forget, we've got that competition going on with the adjusted rosters. Massively excited to see where you guys come up with that, and do let us know what you think of franchise leagues, and if you are at all excited about Deathzone, and which dwarf team you're buying, because apparently there's a ton of good ones, and I don't know, maybe they're fun. Don't know, might have to do some more exploring.
Yeah.
Groovy. BT, thanks very much for joining me and talking about Blood Bowl. Appreciate it. And thanks very much for listening and watching, and we will see you again soon. See you later.